Welcome back. It's been a few weeks, not few months, but I'm back, or 2 or 3 weeks. I don't even know how long it has been. I'm back with a little book haul that I did, but I also would like to talk about the conference that I attended a week ago in Portugal. I applied to this conference. Hold on, let me check if this is working. I think it should work. I applied for this conference. I don't even know when the deadline was. Was it like March, May, something like that? I think it was March or May. Don't hold me. I don't remember. It was so long ago. And I applied for it, didn't expect to get in. I emailed them after the deadline when they were supposed to inform me if I have been accepted to present the topic. And it was confirmed that I have been selected, and I was really, really excited. It was in end of September that I found out that I'm going to be attending the conference. And the conference was now in November. It was my first conference, and it was awesome. I had so much fun. I met so many amazing women. It was a Marxist feminist conference that is organized every 2 years. A friend of mine forwarded the call, so I would apply. And I did not expect so many people to be interested in the topic that I was presenting. I was kind of fusing my own research for PhD with a subject that I've explored in previously for an essay for my course, but also for the academic article that I wrote for another conference. No, actually, I'm lying. This is my second conference. The first one was last year in, was it this year in January? Oh God, what is time? Yeah, so I lied. It was my second conference, but I think the first one I didn't have so much anxiety because it was here in Ljubljana, and I had friends who came to hear me present, and it wasn't as scary. This one, for some reason, was very, very scary, probably because it was also a Marxist feminist conference. And I feel such a big responsibility presenting these topics that I am researching for my PhD, and also adjacent with the work that in general interests me, like a little bit of a wider scope. But it was really fun. It was great. I presented the topic on women's resistance and creation of exilic spaces. And in particular, I was interested to explore these geographic and temporal aspects of resistance and creation of exilic spaces. For those of you who don't know exilic spaces, this is it's a theoretical concept created by Andrej Grubačić based on his own research of different movements, resistance movements. In particular, he uses the example of Zapatista movement. And exilic spaces are basically spaces on the edge of capitalism. They are not fully capitalist, but they are also not they can't be outside of capitalism because they are still connected through this world system of exchange. And I was analyzing several examples. Of course, you have only like 15 minutes to present. So I was really, really short. I had written a longer version of the text for the presentation 2 days before. And on the day before the conference, or no, on the day of the conference in the morning, I was having my presentation the first day of the conference, which was Friday. And on that day in the morning, I had to rewrite the whole thing because it was too long, and I knew that I was gonna exceed the time limit that we had. And yeah, so I don't think I did, and I said this when I was presenting afterwards when I had some questions asked. I don't think I did justice to any of the movements I included. And I said that we can, discuss further if anyone is interested. And it was really fun. I met some amazing women who expressed a lot of interest in my work and the reading that I do and the literature that I include in my my research and theoretical conceptualization of my own ethnographic research. So it was a lot of fun, and it's going to be in 2 years again, and by that time I guess I should be done with my PhD. We shall see. But I hope to apply for it again, and I hope to go again. Every year it's in a different country and different topics it has. It was awesome. I will post the link regarding the program that they had. I attended some amazing panels, spoke to some women who were doing research on topics that I have been interested previously, but haven't done much reading on it or no reading at all. I also met this one really nice researcher from Poland who's also doing ethnographic research on the communities who are struggling to preserve certain ecosystems where they live within certain areas that are now designated as ecologically vulnerable, and the government is trying to kick them out because they claim that they are actually exploiting it in a way that is not sustainable for the for those ecological for those ecosystems. And I have a lot of critique of that, but this video shouldn't be about that. And I just want to say the reason why I was so afraid about the reaction that I might get on my presentation is because I've heard a lot of horror stories about academic conferences where people are just kind of looking for ways to tear you down and make you feel small and stupid. And I think I was overthinking that aspect when in fact it was the total opposite. There was so much support and encouragement, especially from the younger generation of presenters. There were some really bigger panels on colonialism and decolonization, also abolition, politics. There were some pretty big names that also took part in the conference and that I wasn't even aware of, but was quite surprised to see there. I will post the link to the program, and if you are interested in some of the topics that the program has or some of the presenters, you are very welcome to check it out and maybe contact them if you're interested in their work. Okay, so now I will move on. It's already 10 minutes of me yammering. I will move on to books that I got. Obviously, because I was in Portugal, I wanted to get books that are about Portuguese, about Portugal, and are from Portuguese authors. but of course I got some other books as well. In Porto, where the conference was, I visited one chain bookstore where I got some publications that are published by local publishers, meaning Portuguese publishers, so they're not international. But before that, I will start first with this Dangerous Paths Transform Review, European Review of Politics, which was a publication that I got at the conference. And it has texts by Nancy Fraser, Enzo Traverso, Anita Jurjan, Nadia Gabrielini, and Matteo Gadi, and Stefano Palombarini. So I haven't checked it out, but some of the names I'm familiar with, others not so much, and I'm looking forward to read the texts. Next book that I got, and it's on the list of authors that are not Portuguese, and that is Ernesto Che Guevara, The Motorcycle Diaries. I have wanted to read this one for quite some time, and I didn't realize that it's only 150 something pages, 160. So it's quite short. I thought it was longer, and that's why I picked it up. I still have his, what's it called, Guerrilla Warfare on my TBR, and I'm gonna pick it up probably now towards the end of the year to read it. I mean, this book doesn't need any introduction. I shouldn't say anything more. I've probably heard about it. You know who Ernesto Che Guevara was, and if you have read it, you can share your thoughts. You're welcome to share your thoughts down below. Next one is Leonard and Hungry Paul by Ronan Hession. He is, I believe, Irish author, and the book is about, the story is about two friends trying to find their place in the world. It is about those uncelebrated people who have the ability to change the world not by effort or force, but through their appreciation of all that is special and overlooked in life. Never heard of this author, kind of picked it up on a whim, and I'm looking forward to read it. I like the writing style because I lived through it, so I'm excited about this one. Next one is Journeys and Flowers by Mercè Rodoreda. I think she is a Spanish author. A mesmerizing and enigmatic collection of short stories haunted by the horrors of war and divided into two parts, Journeys and Flowers. That's all I need to know. Next one, I haven't heard of this book and haven't seen it anywhere, and I'm quite interested in the subject, or at least the approach that it has to the subject. It's The Silent Woman, Sylvia Plath and Ted Hughes by Janet Malcolm. It says that in The Silent Woman, Janet Malcolm examines the biographies of Sylvia Plath with particular focus on Anne Stevenson's bitter fame to discover how Plath became an enigma in literary history, blending investigative prowess with personal touch. Malcolm delves deep into biographers' lives to uncover the motives behind their words. So I'm interested in how the image of Sylvia Plath as we know it today was built, and I think it will be a thing to behold, to read. I already lived through it and has some very good points. The next one is The Bone People by Kerry Hulme. This is a winner of the Booker Prize from 1985, and it is by New Zealand author. It says The Bone People is a love story. It begins when a mute 6-year-old, full of blasting hurt and strange charm, wanders off the beach and into the home of despairing artist. Kedawin has given up everything but drinking, thinking, and fishing, but the arrival of boy Simon and later on of his Maori foster father Joe drags all three into the gyre of possibilities. Cruel, funny, and ardent and beautiful, The Bone People is powerful and visionary New Zealand fable. Never heard of this author, never heard of the book, and I am really interested to read these maybe longer books that are either historical fiction or deeper studies of character. I've been reading some shorter novels that are studies of character, but sometimes I wish they were longer and they could explore some of the topics that they had in a more deeper way. So that's why I picked it up. I will say that all of these books I got in different bookstores, and I will share the names of the bookstores I visited in the description and which books I got where, so you can check it out if you ever visit Porto and Lisbon. So the next pile is from Portuguese authors, and there's a lot of them. On my first day in Lisbon, I ran into this small antique, well, not a second-hand bookstore that also sells some new published books, and it had some books that are dedicated to history of Portugal and from different Portuguese authors. But I was interested in this publication, The Historical Guide to an African Lisbon, 15th to 21st century. It is also a publication by a publisher from Portugal. It's rather short. I think altogether it's like 90 something pages, but it has a lot of pictures, and it's more like I would say maybe a travel guide, or maybe some kind of introductory attempt for anyone who is interested in this history of Portugal. And at the back they have also sources that they use, so if you're interested to explore the topic further beyond this publication, then you can also do that. But I was really intentional with the books that I was buying. I knew I wanted to buy authors from Portugal, books written by authors from Portugal, but also books maybe by not Portuguese authors, but by authors that I'm not familiar with, as you can tell by the previous part. Next book, I was recommended this book by a wonderful bookseller at a bookstore called Salted Books. Family Happiness. I asked her if she knows if she could recommend some book that was like a family saga, and she recommended this, Family Happiness by Laurie Colwyn. It's about the solo Millers have everything: looks, brains, money, and strong sense of clan, and branches across the world, just like a banking house. And Polly, along with her large, handsome, amiable husband Henry Demarest, has carefully maintained household of her own and 2 nice, sturdy children. But one day, completely unexpectedly, she finds herself entangled in a sweet yet painful love affair with a painter who is not much of a fan of families but thinks Polly is remarkable. Gradually, all the values Polly has lived by are called into question. So that's Family Happiness. Okay, so I will leave this author for the last segment of this video. Next one is also a recommendation by a bookseller from a different bookstore. I forgot the name of it. I will insert it. Take 6, edited by Margaret, Jull Costa, is 6 Portuguese women writers. He said, if you want to be introduced to Portuguese writers, this is a good book to start because it tackles different writing styles, by different authors, and of course it's women, so it was a must. And he told me that most people, when he recommends this book, hesitate to buy it because of the cover. They think it's ugly, and I was like, no, I really think it's great. Do you think the cover is ugly? I don't think it's ugly. I think it's badass. But it says, Take 6 is a celebration of 6 remarkable Portuguese women writers. It lists the names. They are all past mistresses of the short story form, and their subject matter ranges from finding one's inner fox to a failed suicide attempt to a grandmother and grandson battling the wind on a beach. Stories and styles are all very different, but what the writers have in common is their ability to take everyday life and look at it afresh, so that even a tip on a ferry or an encounter with a stranger or a child's attempt to please her father becomes imbued with mystery and humor and sometimes tragedy. This is also a publication, yes, by Portuguese publisher, Daedalus. I think they are Portuguese. If I made a mistake, please forgive. Arts Council England. Oh, Daedalus is distributed in Australia. Oh no, this is this British publication? I think it could be some small publisher from UK. 6 women. Take 6, sorry. Next one is also a recommendation from a bookseller. It's a Portuguese Mozambique writer. The bookseller, he told me that he recommends this if you're interested to explore the topic of migrant life in Portugal, and also during the period of Salazar regime, and he highly recommended this one. It says, set largely in Laurence Marques as the capital of Mozambique was known before it achieved independence from its colonial masters in Portugal. This is a novel very much about divisions between mother and daughter, husband and wife, black and white, Africa and Portugal, the haves and have-nots, and about what it means to be an immigrant always torn between home and homeland. And of course, I think the most famous, or at least one of the most famous writers from Portugal, José Saramago, and I got 2 books of his, that is Blindness and the history of the siege of Lisbon. When Raimundo Silva, a lowly proofreader for Lisbon Publishing House, inserts a negative into a sentence of historical text, he alters the whole course of the 1147 siege of Lisbon. Unexpectedly, his editor encourages him to pen his own alternative history. As his retelling draws on all his imaginative powers, Silva finds the present transfigured along with the past. I'm looking forward to this one. And then Blindness is a driver awaiting at the traffic lights goes blind. An ophthalmologist tries to diagnose his distinctive white blindness, but is affected before he can read the textbooks. it becomes a contagion spreading throughout the city. I think I've seen a film adaptation of this that was done maybe first half or like early 2010s. I'm not sure, but it was really powerful. And reading a book, it would be also interesting to see how Saramago writes about uh, this pandemic that is spreading so fast. And next one, of course, going to Portugal and visiting the bookstores there and visiting one museum in particular. It wouldn't be an experience of Portugal if I was not buying one and only Fernando Pessoa. I bought I bought actually 3 books that are dedicated to Pessoa. This is a biography written by Hubert D. Jennings of Fernando Pessoa, the poet with many faces, a biography and anthology, also recommended by bookseller because I was looking for a different biographical work. And I already read a little bit of the preface, and it's really beautiful. It's very interesting how the author of this biography is connected to a part of Pessoa's life, mainly his childhood and the school he went to. They both attended this school in South Africa, and how he became familiar with his work and, eventually leading to him being obsessed with Pessoa and his life and his work. Just like me. I was introduced to Pessoa in this very underground, I would say, magazine in Serbia dedicated to poetry. It's called Poesia, and they had a publication. I wouldn't say that the whole publication was dedicated to Pessoa. I cannot remember now. It was a long time ago that I read it. But it was definitely a publication that had probably more than 10 of his poems, and I became so obsessed with it. And at the time, we didn't have, I don't think that a lot of his work or any of his work was translated. It was only later that his work was widely translated in Serbian that I'm familiar with. I couldn't find, it was very difficult to find his poetry translated to Serbian. Then the next one is also by Fernando Pessoa. Well, not also, because the previous was about Fernando Pessoa. This one is poems. I am the size of whatever I see. And this is also a small publication from Portugal. And that's why I wanted to get this edition. And finally, the doorstopper, the cold weapon. I feel like if you would throw this at someone, that you could definitely murder them. Pessoa, An Experimental Life by Richard Zenith. And I got this in the museum. I highly recommend you visit the museum. It's very small. It has 3 floors, but it is in the house where Pessoa lived. And it's beautiful. I will insert some photos here while I speak now. I had so much fun just being there, and the way the texts that they have also prepared, and they have one floor that is dedicated just to his library. I was quite impressed by the books that he was reading, different topics that he was interested in, a lot of dictionaries, and most of the books were in English. And I was wondering, I asked the people who work in the museum, but they couldn't give me an answer. How was he purchasing these books? Because he was buying them when he was living in Portugal. Maybe I will discover in the biography. But this came out, I think, maybe 3 years ago. Was it 2022 or 2023 that it came out? 2022. And it's massive. It's how many pages? If we take out, it's over 900 pages. Has some photos as well, so I'm looking forward to read this one. And I think it will take me probably several months to do it, knowing how slow of a reader I am, but I believe it will be totally worth it. Um, so yeah, that's the book haul from Portugal. And if you have any more questions about the books I bought, or you would like to share if you read any of them, it's welcomed and appreciated. And as you know, my introduction doesn't go that well. I just switched to content right away, content mode. Bye. I'm Alex. I'm glad you're still here, and thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.